back to my channel. My name is Heather. Welcome if you are new. And in today's video, I'm gonna give you 5 top homeschooling mistakes that I believe we all make when we first start out. Okay, number 1, the biggest mistake I think we all make in the very beginning is, where am I going to homeschool these children? So we always think that we have to have this perfect cookie cutter space when we homeschool that has to look just like what their public school room looked like. And so we put the desk in and we have the calendars and we have the rules and the marker board and all those things. And we then realize none of it really mattered, because when you homeschool, you learn that you homeschool not only in that space, but also at the kitchen countertop. You also learn that you homeschool on the couch and you homeschool at the dining room table, or maybe you're postpartum and you're homeschooling upstairs on your bed. I have literally homeschooled in every single one of those spaces that I just mentioned, and my homeschool room didn't get used during those times. Another one, you think you have to have such a big space to homeschool your children. I have homeschooled for 1.5 years in an RV. We had a small little kitchen table that would realistically and should have only fit 4 people, but we all crammed around it, and that is where we homeschooled. So not only do you not have to have a homeschool room, you shouldn't expect your whole entire homeschool day to stay in that homeschool room. I definitely believe that it helps to have a room and to have a designated space for your homeschooling day, but don't feel like that has to be the thing you need to get started. If you don't have a homeschool room, don't let that keep you from starting. You can homeschool basically anywhere. Number 2, buying way too much curriculum. Raise your hand if you're guilty of this one. I know I am. I bought so much curriculum in the beginning of my homeschooling journey that I still have to this day. Don't get me wrong, I think that curriculum is great. I also think that if you're new, it's important to have a variety of curriculum to try so that you can figure out what you like and what you don't like. But a big mistake is to buy too much. You're not going to realistically get to all of it. So what my suggestion to you is, go to their websites, review their products, look at the reviews online from other homeschooling moms. Also join Facebook groups for homeschooling, because a lot of good stuff and knowledge is passed through there. You can also find curriculum for a very cheap and reasonable price at resale prices, and you can learn what really works for you without investing too much in all the curriculum. So don't do it. Don't dive in head first and buy all the curriculum that you feel and think, oh man, I have to have all of this because it's gonna really spice up my homeschool. It's gonna make my child super bright if they learn all of these things. Just don't do it. Start simple, start small, and get what you need and don't buy what you don't. One thing that I love to live by when it comes to curriculum is the 4 core. So I only teach the 4 core to my children. These are the 4 core subjects that I personally believe and want them to learn, and everything else to me is just extra, and we fit in when we can and when we want to. But the 4 core subjects that I choose to teach all of my children starting from pre-K is math, English, handwriting, and spelling. Number 3, joining way too many homeschooling groups. Your kids do not need to be in every group. They're going to make friends. It's going to be okay. They're not gonna turn out weird, I promise. Hey, don't you hate that when you tell people you wanna homeschool and the first opinion they have that comes out of their mouth, your kid's gonna be that weird homeschooled kid? Don't listen to them, okay? You have the ability to talk and interact with your children. They also have the ability to interact and talk with one another. My children all enjoy each other's company, and they just love playing together and hanging out. I hardly ever have to beg them to play with each other because I have created it to be that, and it just organically happens. Don't get me wrong, I think that homeschool groups are a great thing, especially if you're starting out, and especially if you're coming from public school and your children are used to having that interaction with peers. It can be a great thing to do. I mainly just don't do them anymore as much as I did in the beginning because we live so far away from town. So it just doesn't fit my lifestyle. But my children definitely have that interaction with one another. And they also get that interaction with cousins who live in the same neighborhood, and they get that interaction with people that they've made friends with at the grocery store. Believe it or not, my kids are friends with everyone, including the deli lady at the grocery store. And they also get that interaction from our church family that we hang out with regularly. So you don't have to join every single group that is in your local area to make sure that your child doesn't come out weird. Number 4, putting yourself in a box. So this one I feel is, I don't want to use the word dangerous. I just feel like it's a bad influence for new moms who are learning to homeschool and trying to figure out what style they are in homeschool. Do not put yourself in this unrealistic box that you have to homeschool this way and you have to teach this way, because there are a ton of homeschooling styles out there, and I promise you will not find one that you 100 wholeheartedly agree on. And if you do, you are the exception. But personally, I've looked into 2 homeschooling styles, and I've never looked into the other ones because I didn't want to put myself in a box starting off and then have these expectations. And then when I failed in those expectations, then realizing, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm not even following this simple style of how to homeschool. How can I teach my children to thrive in life if I can't follow this one homeschool style? So don't do that to yourself. Don't put yourself in a box. I definitely lean towards more of, and these are the only 2 I've ever looked up, ironically enough. I've only looked into the Charlotte Mason. I used to listen to a podcast and I agreed with some of it, but I also thought a lot of it was silly. And then I also lean towards the unschooling side of things, where if we are doing math and then, everyone's kind of a little flustered and mom's a little stressed that day, or, we just need a break, we'll stop what we're doing and we'll go out to the garden and we'll just enjoy nature, and I'll teach them, what would you call that? Agriculture? Or horticulture, I think is the correct term. But I'll teach them that, and we'll just kind of enjoy our day doing that. And organically it changes from being in a stuffed up room, stressing out because we're just not having a good day in homeschool, because you will have those bad days, and changing it organically to where it's, okay, let's get out of this funk, let's go outside. So I like that aspect of unschooling as well. So I lean towards 2 polar opposites, where one is structured and one is totally not structured. Number 5, and my last one, setting yourself up for high expectations and unrealistic expectations. When I first started homeschool, and like I said, going back to, I think it was tip number 2, yes, buying too much curriculum, I had high expectations. I wanted to make sure that I made up for the fact that they're gonna be homeschooled, so I need to make sure that they're super smart and they know everything and they know 5 languages. And my golly, when you have a conversation with them, your mind's gonna be blown because you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this kid's a genius. So I definitely had high and unrealistic expectations. And I don't want you to make that mistake. Don't do that to yourself. It's not fair. Your child is going to learn at their own pace, and there is nothing wrong with wanting them to learn those extra things and teaching them the 2, 3, or even 1 language. If you do that, I think that those things are great. But to feel as if you have to have all of those things checked off and it's like somehow equivalent to the type of homeschooling mom you are is just unrealistic. Homeschool is supposed to be a combination of home and school structure. So remember that when you're homeschooling, it's not only the heart of the home, which is you and the family, it's also doing school and structuring it in a way where they are learning. So it doesn't have to be this, public school or private school setting where it has to be, they learn everything, they need to know the extra things and XYZ. It is a combination of both. And so I think it's very important to remember those things. That is it. Those are my 5 tips. I hope you guys enjoyed them. I would love to answer any questions that you may or may not have. We are going into our 5th year, and so I obviously am still learning what we love and what we don't love, but I have picked up a couple things on the way that we do love, and I would love to share those with you. And until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. God bless.